Ladies and gentlemen,
This is the Dental Up Podcast, brought to you by Keating Dental Arts, a full-service, award-winning dental laboratory. Each week, you'll learn tips and techniques from real-world dentists, bringing you in-depth interviews, motivating stories, current events, and sports. Here's your host, Sean Keating.
Hey everyone, Sean here. Welcome to another episode of the Dental Up Podcast. Our guest this week is a graduate from the University of Texas and received both a Doctor of Dental Surgery and a preceptorship on dental implantology. Practicing from Llano, Texas, please welcome Dr. Charles Parrish DDS. How's it going, Dr. Parrish?
Awesome, Sean. I'm glad to be with you today, but I do want to clarify. I went to the University of Texas Dental School, but I'm actually a proud graduate of Baylor University. It's a big distinction in our neck of the woods.
No kidding.
I'm not a Longhorn for all those that are listening.
Man, the last few podcasts, I've got some doctors from Texas, man. You guys are into it, man. I love it. But hey, my little niece is just going. She's going to Baylor. She just got a scholarship there, and she's coming from Orange County, going to Baylor, man, in Texas. That's pretty cool, dude.
That's awesome. If I had a niece or a daughter, that's a good place to send them.
No kidding. Yeah, I seen that, and I'm like, Baylor, man, they got a pretty good little basketball team, kind of doing good in the basketball tournaments and stuff. They got a football team at all, or
they have fallen upon some hard times, but they went through a few years there where they were pretty salty, but supposedly they're on the rebound. We'll see. Okay. Baseball team's doing well, so that's what I care about. They looks like they're going to make a regional this year. So
no kidding.
That's
awesome.
Makes
dude.
the Baylor Nation happy.
Oh heck yeah, man! Now where's Baylor at in Texas? I know like Austin's kind of middle. How do you say? Is it Llano, Texas? Llano, Texas? How do you say where you're at?
So Llano, Texas, we are an hour and a half west of Austin,
okay,
and an hour and a half north of San Antonio.
Okay.
So we practice in a rural area. The nearest town is 45 minutes away. The nearest town where you actually have a real grocery store or a Home Depot. So we're considered pretty rural. But that being said, where we live, people are used to driving an hour and a half to go to a nice restaurant or go buy groceries or whatever. So we live out in the country, but we draw from a very large area.
No kidding. What a trip, dude. How many people in town? How many population you got?
If you go by the city limits, it's about 3,000 people. The thing about where we live is that nobody moves out to Llano so that they can live in the city. So we have 17,000 people in the county, and most of our patients are people who live outside of town on ranches. We have some world-class team ropers here in Llano, rodeo guys that are very well known. So we have a lot of rodeo people.
Got some tough cowboys, man.
More famous. Yes, sir. We also have one of the more famous barbecue joints in Texas, so that's a big draw now.
What's the name of that, baby?
Cooper's Barbecue.
Cooper's Barbecue. I think I've seen that,
yes,
man,
sir.
On TV. I love me some barbecue. I got to stop eating that stuff. I tell you, man. It's like, I'm a burn end freak, man. Give me those burn ends. It's like, Sean, my wife's like, Sean, that's looking a little fatty today. You're not eating all that fat. I go, no, honey. I'm chewing out like every fifth bite. I'm spitting this chunk out. She's like, oh, I hate it when you do that. It's like, well, my arteries don't want that thing going down that throat, baby. So you're going to have to see me spitting these out every once in a while.
Just come on out to Texas and I'll trade you a plate full of burn ends for a fishing trip. So
dude, you got it. Yeah, man, you're a big fisherman. We'll get into that for sure. Well, dude, I always talk a little bit about sports, and man, you got Houston. How far is Houston from you guys? Is that real far? 2-3 hours? Or
Houston's about 3 to 4 hours, depending on how fast you go and once you hit the traffic, once you get into town. But yes, sir, I grew up a Astros fan. I actually had a really good friend that played for the Astros, and my wife is from the outskirts of Houston, so her family They're all big Astros fans, especially her grandmother. Her grandmother sits and watches every Astros game every day she can, man.
Can you believe that?
That's big around here.
And dude, you guys are freaking World Series champions, man. Texas, man. It's like you got Houston Astros, and they won it all.
Now, if we can just get our college football back up and running on any level, and then maybe get the Cowboys back in the action, then we'll all be happy.
Can you imagine that? I mean, just figure. I know they're not doing the greatest right now against Golden State. I think you guys are down 2-1 on the Rockets. And, it's just something got Harden and the guys and just the whole Houston. I remember back in the day with Sampson and the guys. You guys were just such a force for a long time. But can you imagine if, you got the Houston Astros, the world champions in baseball, if the Houston Rockets could do it, be world champions in football. Man, I mean, that's just that's pretty huge for Texas. I mean, to have that, but to think that the Texans too, they're kind of like not the you got the Dallas Cowboys that is like America's team, they say, but even the Houston Texans, it's pretty neat. Your whole representation in sports, and I'd like to see the Cowboys get back in it too. A couple of years ago with Zach and. God, Ezekiel. I mean, but then they kind of laid a turd last year, just a little bit. It's tough in football. You got to have that chemistry, and the Rams are going to win it all this year, baby. We got the big old Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, the Cowboys. They're trying to make it back to America's team, but the Houston Texans have America's best player because. I coach Little League football, and I coach a bunch of these kids, and I can tell you, without a doubt, the number one person that every one of them wants to be is number 99, J.J. Watt. So
he's such a
Texans
stud.
definitely have a good marketing strategy going with that deal.
Oh, heck yeah. No, that is so neat. Yeah, I love J.J., man. He's a stud. I mean, he kind of reminds you of Gronk a little bit, They kind of look, and I think J.J.'s bigger and everything else too, but that's a trip. So, yeah, I coach football, too. We have the Junior All-American out here. What did you guys have? You have Pop Warner, or is it a Junior All-American? What kind of football is it for youth football out there?
Right now, we're not associated. We have a league because we're in a small town. Okay. We don't have the big affiliations. We actually are affiliated with USA Football, which is kind of a subchapter of the NFL that they kind of overlook, just to make sure that kids are playing safe, that you teach them safe ways to tackle and prevent concussions and all that. We have a league here that encompasses a whole bunch of counties, and we've got towns as far as an hour and a half away. I'm just finishing my term as league president, and I can tell you by far the most work I've ever done in any sport is being the league president of a youth football league in Texas.
Yeah, it's a great thing. I mean, that's how I run my company. It's just football. I'm 55. It's been part of my life for 48 years. I started football at 7 and every day since. I've thought about football in one way or another. I run my dental lab. Like, I got my O-line, I got my defensive backs, I got my quarterbacks, I got my front office, I got ownership, and it's just special teams, and it's all kind of broken down in that. You just got your specialists in each area, each part of the team, and it's just kind of a cohesive unit. We win together, lose together, and only as strong as your weakest link. And it's dealt me some great, results. Just kind of what I'm not a businessman, and when I started, it's like, I'm just gonna run it like a football team because I was a head coach for 5-6 years, and I always had a dream to be an NFL coach. And now when they're getting up to the billions, man, it ain't gonna happen. Well, you never know. We might be able to. Yeah, you never know. It's just never say never. But
one thing about coaching at the youth level that I think you cannot put enough credit in is that. If you got good players, you become a lot smarter as a coach.
Exactly.
And if you don't have good players, you're a lot dumber as a coach. Exactly. I found that out real quick.
I know. I remember one year, it's like I thought I was my sons were like in 8th grade, and it was like we're in the Pee Wee division, 12, 13-year-olds. And the first game of the season, we're playing this team, Inglewood. It's kind of where the Lakers are and everything else back in the day. And so this team from Inglewood came down, and man, we were just like, we're on our little stadium, Irvine Stadium, and it's the kickoff of the first game of the season, and I'm just all cocky thinking, oh man, we're going to do so good. And this Inglewood team's always like in the Super Bowl. They're really good athletes. And the damn kickoff, we're receiving, and the ball's in the air, and these guys were so fast running down that field. My guy, Travis Sism, man, he was one of the deep backs. My other son was the other guy. So Travis, he got the ball kicked to him, and he was bobbling a little bit on the opening kickoff. And the guy, that streaker coming down the sideline, came down and was right there when he's bobbling the ball, took it out of his hands, and ran into it for a touchdown. It's not even 6 seconds into the freaking start of the game, and they already scored on us, man. And it's like they went on to like 49-0, because if you go over 50, you get penalized, and those guys weren't about to get penalized. But towards the end of the game, they kind of put all their worst players in. But it humbled me then. But the first play of the season, man, we were already down 6-0 on receiving a kickoff, man. You can't teach that. It's kind of, it's like, it was a tough game that day. Okay. Let's shut up about sports a little bit. Let's dental up. So tell me, Dr. Parrish, why did you get into dentistry, and at what point did you think, I want to be a dentist?
You know, it's one of those things where I grew up where my dad's best friend and college roommate was a dentist, and he was a friend of the family and a mentor. And I knew at a young age, probably middle school, I was already saying, you know, I like the way, looks like what he does looks like a good way to make a living. I was always good at science and stuff in middle school and high school and whatever. And so I got lucky in that I chose a career at a young age that I love, man. And it's most people, they choose a career, they go through dental school, and not most people, but some people do all that work, and then they start fixing on teeth, and they say, oh crap, I don't really like fixing teeth all day.
Yeah.
But I got lucky, and then I made a decision at a young age that that's what I wanted to do. And then, man, once I started doing it, I found out I really enjoy fixing teeth and helping people and doing what I do for a living.
What a trip. Now, any family members involved in the industry, or no? You just kind of came up with this on your own, or?
No, like I said, my dad's college roommate was my mentor, and he told me, don't go to dental school. You need to go be a dermatologist. They don't work near as hard, and they make a lot more money. But I did have a cousin a couple years behind me, and she saw what I did, and she went to dental school because she thought it would be a good idea. And, you know, she's one of those that actually got out into the real world of dentistry. And she said, nah, I don't think I like dealing with patients and staff and everything all day, every day. So she has now since moved over to the academic world, and she's loving teaching. So, you know, there's an area of dentistry for everybody, no matter what your path that you want to take, that if you put in the work and effort, you can usually find something that you enjoy doing. So.
No kidding. Well, tell me a little bit about your college now. You went to Texas, and then you went to Baylor. Tell me a little bit about how that worked out and what you liked and what you didn't like about that.
Well, so I did my undergrad at Baylor University. I actually went to Baylor University. I went there cold turkey because I went there to play baseball. Okay. I had I did not get a scholarship, but I had an offer as a walk-on to make the team, and so I ended up going there. I always joke, my Texas, the big rivalry here is the University of Texas and Texas A&M University. And my dad played football at Texas A&M University, and my mom went to the University of Texas. So I always joke to people that I was so confused that I just went to Baylor so I wouldn't make anybody angry.
That's perfect. Oh, I bet the A&M and Texas I bet they go after each other a little bit. They into their alma maters pretty heavily, or not so much?
Yeah, no, that's a big time deal. My wife's an Aggie. My sister's an Aggie. So we got them spread all over everywhere. But my wife and I actually then both went to the University of Texas Health Science Center Dental School in San Antonio. And that's where we got educated and got out and practice. And man, we just wanted to get out and tackle the world and become a success. And we practiced in Austin for a year or two. And when we got time to settle down and have kids, we said, hey, we want to be out in the country where we can have horses and longhorns, and you know, our kids can go jump in the pond and go fishing, and we don't have to have a 45-minute carpool to football practice and all that stuff. So we found a place to move out in the country and got it done.
No kidding. Now, you practice with your wife. Well, first, let me go back. when you did the walk-on in baseball, what position do you play in baseball? And tell me a little bit about that. I didn't know that about you.
I like to tell people that I was a catcher, but the reality is at the collegiate level, I was a bullpen catcher, meaning that I didn't get a lot of time between the white lines. I hit to the point, I was smart enough to know that when you get to a certain level, your abilities may not be as good as your work ethic or as good as you think you are.
Yep.
So I was on the team for 4 years. I traveled quite a bit. I got to do some really cool things. We went to a regional at the University of Florida and got to play there in a regional tournament. I got to travel all over the country playing at different places. We played at LSU. We played out at Arizona. Got to do a lot of cool things, had a lot of cool experiences. But at the end of the day, I was meant to be a dentist, not a Major League Baseball player.
Well, dude, at least you did it, though, and played 4 years. I mean, and catching is like the toughest job on a baseball team, and that guy's a stud behind the plate. I mean, how was it? What was one of your, did you get freaked out on those curveballs some of the times?
No, most of the time behind the plate wasn't too bad because you got to remember that guy behind the plate's got plenty of protective gear on. The things that I do remember is we had a couple guys that were first-round draft picks that could throw mid to upper 90s. And there was one inter-squad game when I got hit right in the thigh with a 96-mile-an-hour fastball.
Oh,
and it left a bruise, and it left a bruise the size of a watermelon. And people come up to you and they say, well, man, when that happens, why didn't you get out of the way? And I tell people, when you got a 96-mile-an-hour fastball coming right at your butt, you don't have time to move. You can just take it.
You don't, and it's so crazy. I had a little story real quick on that. I coached my kids in Little League also, and I was like, they were like in the All-Stars and the senior major All-Stars is after majors, 12-year-olds. So I'm doing that, and it's the first day of practice, and we didn't have any gear to umpire behind it, so we're doing a live practice and everything else. So I just went behind the pitcher, and I was calling balls and strikes and stuff like that. Well, frickin' one of our studs was up to bat, and the guy had a line drive straight back to the pitcher, and I turned to the side, and the pitcher went to catch it, and it went underneath his arm and hit me in my side of my back. And it dropped me to the ground, and I couldn't breathe for like a minute. I'm sitting there going, and all the fathers and stuff are out there. I'm on the ground, first day of practice, Mr. Big Manager of the All-Star team. I had to be taken to the hospital, and I broke 3 ribs and cracked 2 ribs. The dude, it was like, I don't know how fast it came, but man, that was like I've broken legs, arms, my nose, I've broken fingers. I have never had the pain of broken ribs. Then it's like the worst pain. Everything you cough, you feel it. Everything going to the bathroom. It's just like any pushing. It was a nightmare. But be careful out there. Don't get all cocky. Oh, umpire behind the plate with these 13-year-olds, and that's tough times, man. I
hung up my gear once I became a dentist. There's too many ways to break a finger playing baseball. So I realized that early on that it was time to hang it up and protect my career.
I never did. That was stupid. I remember I broke my wrist at like 40 years old. I'm on I got a motorized skateboard. I'm half lit, and I'm like, I'm over in the little elementary school on the track, and I'm doing like figure eights, and I hit a little rock, and it launched me up in the air, and I came down on my wrist, and I shattered it like in 12 spots. I got a plate and 6 screws, and I just never learned. And 10 years later, I fell in a hole in my boat. We had a hatch open. One of my knucklehead crew members had the engine open to the end. It's like a secret hideout to get through, and I stepped into this hole and I broke my humerus. That's the ball up in your arm up there. That was at 49. Yeah, and they couldn't put in a cast, and I had to wear this sling against my body for like 6 weeks. And I couldn't even put my freaking belt on, man. It's like, so now once I hit 50, I said, I ain't doing stupid shit anymore. No more. Because I don't heal as quick. And, you just can't be a knucklehead out there. You just can't. You got to think before you do stuff, and so that's what I'm working on that still. So
Yeah, but just think from a marketing standpoint, how many YouTube views you'd get if you had a video of Sean Keating falling off a motorized skateboard at 40 years old.
Yeah, dude, that would be just look at this dumb knucklehead go through all my history of breaks. No, that's what you don't want to do. That's funny. So, dude, tell me about with your wife now. She's a dentist and you guys practice together. How's that work out? Does she do certain things? You do certain things. Tell me about that.
Yes, sir. That's exactly how it works. We learned early on that it makes more sense for us to kind of divide our practice into subspecialty practices. So we basically from the get-go, we started taking all of our CE together, whether it was implants and orthodontics and endodontics, whatever. And we found out early on that, one, she kind of enjoyed the orthodontics a little bit more, and I liked the surgery a little bit more. And we found that we found ourselves in the beginning referring things to each other. So if a kid needed braces, I'd send them over to her. And then if someone needed a root canal, she didn't want to deal with it, and she'd send them over to me. And so over time, our practice developed to where now we both do general dentistry. We both do fillings and crowns and cosmetic veneer cases and stuff like that. But when it gets into kind of some of the more specialized stuff, she treats TMD and orthodontics, and the days that she's there in the afternoons and I leave, man, we got 12, 13-year-old kids all over the office, and it's like they're having a party, man. They're just taking Facebook pictures and, jacking around, checking on each other and whatnot. And then the days that I'm there afterwards, I'm always in the middle of a surgery, and everybody's all somber because Dr. Parrish has got somebody over in the surgical op taking out 8 teeth and putting in 2 implants, so we got to be all serious and things. It works out great. You learn to complement each other very well. She handles a lot of the staff stuff, and then I handle a lot of the business side of things, and we just kind of delegate duties. And honestly, it's been a blessing.
That's freaking awesome, dude. I love it. Sometimes husband-wife teams can be tough. I mean, it's tough in any partner you have in your practice, but you guys are just crushing it too, man, with us. So you guys got it down for sure. Now, are you seeing little kids too? You kind of go anyone and anything, or how? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, we do actually, and I don't know. Somehow I always end up getting those too, even though she's the one that does the braces. Our theory with our practice is that we tell parents straight up when they have a young kid, 4, 5, 6 years old, and if they have need for treatment, we tell parents, look, we don't do full sedations in our office, but if we can put them on nitrous and give them a good experience, then that's what we do. And we tell the parents we will treat them. If a kid is having issues, or they're squirmy, or they're just not having it, we don't force it on them. We send them to a pediatric dentist where they can sedate them. All of our operatories have TVs, Apple TVs on the ceiling above the chairs. So you'd be amazed that if you put Frozen on and you put some headphones on a little girl and you get her watching that and put a little nitrous on, you can get a lot done sometimes.
Oh, heck yeah, man. That's awesome. Shit, put that Frozen on in front of me. I'll be happy. I love that. That's so cool, dude. Now, you're talking, I'm looking at your stuff. You got a BA in biology, and you also study business and finance classes. Tell me a little bit about that. A lot of guys, it's important for dentists, to kind of learn more about business, this and that after dental school. It looks like you were kind of involved with that, in college a little bit too. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I come from an entrepreneurial family, and I always wanted to from the very beginning. When my goal wasn't just to be a dentist, but my goal was to have my own practice and have my own business, and then move on to bigger and better things. And so I knew that in order to do that, I would need some sort of background in business and finance. So I actually graduated from Baylor University in December, and I didn't start dental school till the following August. So instead of just waiting tables and making drinks at bars for people, I went and enrolled in some finance and business classes at the University of Texas, San Antonio, and took some courses just to get my feet wet and to get a little business and finance background and understanding. So
That's awesome.
that honestly, yeah, I thought it was a good idea at the time, but as you know, most of what you learn at the university level doesn't really translate to the real world level. So it was a good experience. I'm glad I did it. It's on my resume, but honestly, I learned more helping out other people's businesses and write my own business plan to start my practice and to purchase a practice and all the other things that I do. You learn a lot more actually doing it than you do learning about it at a university level.
Yeah, I learned a lot. There's a group called Tech, and now for the last several years called Vistage. It's Barry Milken, this dude. But it's pretty neat. You get like 10, 15 business owners, and they're all different businesses, and then you meet up once a month, and it's for a full day. And then the guy that runs it, your leader of your team or whatever, will come and do a one-on-one with you once a month for 2 hours. But you just learn so much from business is business, no matter what you do in what field. And just to learn from the guys in the construction field, guys from the food industry, guys from, the tech industry. And here I was the only dude in dental laboratory. But yet, and I just didn't feel worthy at the beginning, and because, I never had any college or anything. But it's just something, it's just, you don't learn it till you get in the trenches business. It's kind of like getting street smart in a way. But if you can have some guys show you the way in certain things, basic business 101, it's so important. And a lot of dentists don't get that business background. They learn it on their own or they get mentored from someone. But it's so important because I got some guys that are just some of the best darn dentists out there, got the best hands, got great, bedside manner. They're just great with the patients, but they can't run a business for the life of them. And some of them just try to, I got to do my books. I got to do everything myself because dentists are kind of frugal. And sometimes they just don't get it that it's probably better to hire some people that are good at what they do in that situation for your dental practice. And it's just, it's important, but it's neat that you did that because you guys are really rocking and rolling. Now, tell me a little bit about what is a preceptorship for those younger listeners still in school. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, so I did a preceptorship in dental implantology at the University of Texas Health Science Center, San Antonio. And basically that's a whole lot of words to explain that I had spent 6 to 8 weekends of my life doing a accelerated continuing education in implants. It was at the university level, so we did have cadaver courses. We worked on pig jaws. We got to actually do a lot more hands-on. Back when I was coming out of school, implants were on the cutting edge. They were not as established as they are now. And I knew that was something that I wanted to be on the forefront of and really learn about. So at that time, that was the best way, short of a residency, to really get into the area of implantology. Nowadays, there's lots of great instructors out there that teach very similar kind of classes that you can go to that are in a lot more travel friendly or exciting locales. But when I was getting out, that was the best way to learn about it. And so that's what I did so that I could not only just restore implants, but also do the surgical side of implantology.
That's awesome. Because you do a lot of implants. And it just takes balls to get in there and pull back a flap and just see everything. Do you have a cone beam in the office and everything? Tell me a little bit about that. On your implants.
We do not have a cone beam, and that's one of the areas of dentistry that I will not argue that you get a lot of valuable information from cone beam. Mm-hmm. But I'm fortunate that I came up in a time where cone beams weren't necessarily available, and so when you get some surgical experience, you learn when and when cone beam is really needed and when it may be just a luxury and an added cost to the patient. So we do use cone beam, but if we do, we refer them out to an imaging center. Our patients rarely have any pushback, running over to Austin and having a nice lunch and going and getting a scan done. And so that's not a big deal for us. I'm sure at some point in our future we will upgrade to a cone beam,
Yeah.
But we've got a nice digital PANCEF, and that gives us the information we need. If a case is that complicated to where it's that tight with the sinus or with anatomy or whatever that it needs a cone beam, usually I just refer that on to an oral surgeon,
Good for you.
and
That's
I let
smart.
them do the hard part, and then I just build a tooth on top of it.
Absolutely. You got to know when to punt, man. It's just like I was talking to Dr. Kanka last week too, and he has no problem with referring out what he doesn't do. And it's just, you do what you do, and it's a smart business decision a lot of times, unless you're really, really needing it all the time. Have you done any sinus lifts ever? I've watched a sinus lift, man. I don't know how the heck you could do that. That's just crazy.
That's something that I didn't get into, and mainly for what you're saying from a business standpoint, it just doesn't make sense for me to do a surgery where it's going to take me an extra 45 minutes to an hour, and then also the extra time planning the surgery and reading the cone beam. I mean, I'll be honest, at the end of the day, when I come home, I want to hang out with my wife and my kids, and I want to go to dance rehearsals and dance recitals and football games and basketball practice. And I don't want to come home and spend an hour planning a cone beam or going to a meeting on planning a surgery. So when it gets to that kind of stuff that's just a little bit more complicated, I have no problem sending it to the specialists and letting them make my life easier.
Beautiful. But that's a good answer. And that's the right answer, I think, man, because at the end of the day, you know what? You want to be able to come home to mama and the kids and sleep well at night. And I just think, yeah, those surgeries, like my brother's an endodontist, man, all day long, he's in surgery all day. And it's just like, it takes a certain kind of person for that, and, endo's not as bad as I think when you get into the sinus lifts and all that other stuff when it comes to just full rehabs and just trying to, graft areas that, you know what, dude, you probably shouldn't, it's going to be tough, but it's just, it's some heavy duty wavels you need when you start doing that. But tell me a little bit about the layout of your practice. How many ops you got, and tell me a little bit about your staff, what you got working there.
So we currently have 7 operatories. When we moved to Llano back in 2004, we bought a little 3-operatory office that my wife and I couldn't even both be in there at the same time because we didn't have enough chairs. And we expanded and built a new building in 2011, 2012. And now we have 7 operatories with 2 hygienists. I say 7 operatories. We actually have 6 finished out. 1 operatory is kind of a staging area for supplies and our lab cases to come in and whatnot. There's a lot of Keating Dental Arts boxes in that room.
Yeah, baby.
And so we run 2 hygienists. My wife and I, our biggest thing is that, we all work to make a living. We most of us, if we were independently wealthy, we probably wouldn't be working. So we try to run our office such that we put family first. So every day, my wife or I will get off at 3:00 to go get the kids from school. And we try to staff our office with an extra person so that if one of the team members has a kid that has an out-of-town basketball game or cheerleading tryouts, that we can let them get out and go do that, because that kind of stuff is important.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's totally family first, man. I love that. So tell me, what's like your favorite procedure of dentistry, man? Sinking implants or crown prep? What's your favorite part of dentistry for you?
Man, surgery would definitely be what I enjoy the most. I mean, I believe it or not, I've actually gotten to where I enjoy root canals a little bit, but I really, if I had to choose my day, man, I'd be taking out teeth and putting in implants all day long. I enjoy that side of dentistry. I've done full mouth cases, I've done cosmetic cases, and although I like doing them and I like the results and I like the way that, those are the kind of things that patients really appreciate. At the end of the day, man, when you're prepping 12, 14, 16 teeth at a time, that wears you out.
Oh, heck yeah. That's crazy. Especially if it's taking you 10 plus minutes of prep. And if you're doing a prep in 2 minutes or so, no, that's just, it's tough, but, it's a neat thing. when you get those roundies down and get, like I say, if you can do a 3 unit, you can do 14 units, baby. Just bring it around the horn, just take your time. But no, it's a beast to do it. That's for sure. It takes time and practice. But what about on your marketing strategy? What do you do for there? Do you do much social media? Do you do direct mail? You're working with the local schools. Tell me a little bit about your marketing strategy, how to drive business to your practice.
Our biggest marketing in a town like where we live is being out on the town and being part of the community. We sponsor in a small town like ours. We get every single day somebody is asking us to sponsor this or sponsor that. So we sponsor little league teams. We sponsor scholarships. We give away scholarships every year to high school seniors. But the biggest thing, that helps our practice is just being out on the town. We coach Little League and we coach football, and my wife is on several boards of the Parks Project, and we support things in the community. And to be honest with you, that is the best marketing that we do. We have a social media presence. We have a website. We have all of that stuff. But in a small town, the biggest thing is just getting out there, getting your face in front of people and meeting people and knowing people and doing the right thing. And we've been fortunate that that's basically been our marketing strategy. And we've tried a few things here and there. They're different, but the best return on our investment is to just get out there and meet people and do things and let them see who we are and what we're about.
That's awesome, dude. Do you have anything like a referral program with existing patients that you guys do, or you just kind of talk to them about it, or do you have any kind of program for referrals?
That's a big thing with us, and we don't have a written in stone referral program. We've tried several different ways of doing things, but basically what we found is that the best way to do it is look at everything on a case-by-case basis. And what we do is when we have a meeting every month, the first Wednesday afternoon of every month, we have a team meeting. And I actually have an outdoor kitchen at my office. And so a lot of times I'll cook out for the staff, and we'll sit in our meeting room, and we will review the referrals that we got for the previous month. And if somebody referred us a good patient, we'll buy them a thing of flowers and send it to their work, or we'll put a package together for them, or we may give them a koozie or a cup or a coffee mug with our name on it. And that's kind of how we show our appreciation on a case-by-case basis, thanking people for sending us good patients.
Oh, that's so cool, dude. That's our number one thing too. I do my marketing, costs us so much and we get very little out of it, but the referrals from you guys are just so key for us, and especially when it's coming from a peer to peer. So we got these little Keating Visa cards with my logo. I give them out like candy to just people that do good things in life. I don't care if it's my gas station guy or whoever, but for every doctor, gives us a referral, whatever, I sign a little note thanking them and send them a $50 card out, man. And I love it. I love giving out. I love when they say, Sean, we went through $5,000 this month already. And I'm like, well, get some more, baby. It's like my text. When they make more money, I want them to make more money, because that means I'm making more money. But it's just like, I want to give those out just like candy, because you don't have to refer no one. And when you're referring someone, you're usually happy with us. And I'm sure the doctors give them to their staff, or who knows. But it's kind of, we don't tell anybody about it. It's probably the first time I've ever talked about it live, but we love it. Yeah, referrals are your best thing for a dental practice. Talk to your patients. They're your biggest fans, and they're going to tell 10 people. The other guys will tell. It's just the way it is, man, and it's neat. So it's built-in marketing, your staff, your patients. So treat them good and ask them to refer their friends. But that's awesome, dude. So what do you do when you're not working? Tell me a little bit about your life outside of I know you coach a little bit, but tell me what you do outside of work a little bit.
Well, Sean, we're in the stage of life. Our kids are 10 and 12 years old, so we're entering the stage of life where there's a big part of our life is going to practices and rehearsals and recitals and all that kind of stuff. So I'd say the number one thing that I find myself doing is hanging out with my family and watching my kids grow up, which is something that I know about 10 years from now, I'm going to look back and I'm going to look back and miss it quite a bit.
Yeah,
so that's the biggest thing that we do. Outside of that, though, I'm big into offshore fishing. We like to go out to the Gulf of Mexico and chase blue marlin, and we travel when we can. We like to take, believe it or not, we like to take our kids on vacation and enjoy their company. I'm like every Texan, man. I like to go hunting, and if I can get out even further out in the country that I live, then all the better.
That's awesome.
I've got too many hobbies is what I've got.
That's so cool, dude. I know you got a Cabo, man. Cabo is one of the best made freaking boats out there. One of the most expensive, but you got a 38 Cabo, and that's a beast. And that's just that's like the Rolls Royce of boats. I got a Bertram, mine's more of a battle wagon. But what you have is I was out in Cabo last summer, and we rented out a nice Cabo. I was in Cabo, and I rented out a Cabo at Pisces. It's one of the best, boat places down there in the harbor there in Cabo San Lucas. And man, that Cabo is like, my boat's older. I got like a 87, 88 boat, and this was a new one, man. And it's like, I'm like kind of loving it, but then I'm thinking I already got a boat, but. No, Cabos are neat, and then those blue marlins. See, we just got striped marlin where we're at, and they're anywhere from 120 to 220, 250, but the stripies is what we have, the striped marlin here. But out where you guys are, we're like, there's a black marlin and blue marlin, and those dudes can get up to over 1,000 pounds. And, they got that big Bisbee's black and blue. I've always wanted to do it, man, but it just takes big balls, and it's hard. There's like 150 boats. It's like the Super Bowl of marlin tournaments. And every year I'm always like, come on, let's do it. But it's like freaking 60 plus $1,000 to go across the board on all the buy-ins, and the pots. And I don't want to do it unless I'm all bought in, because you never know, we might roll over a big one. And one of my buddies that got me into fishing way back in the day, Jimmy Kingsmill, and he's on a boat with Steve Lastly's the captain, and it's called Bad Company, this boat. And Anthony Shea's a big time, he's the owner of it, and he owns Lone Depot out here. He's just a big entrepreneur, but he's a stud fisherman. But they won it back in 2007 with the highest jackpot ever. They took all the jackpots. They had like a 800 pounder and a 400 pounder or something, and brought them to the docks and weighed them up, and they won $3.8 million on that tournament. And I'm like, whoa. And so I've always been thinking about it. The biggest tournament I won was the Zane Grey over in Catalina, and it was like $54,000. But, that's still some change, but and we just got lucky. We are the only one that caught a marlin at the tournament. So it's like, wow, because California, man, it's not like it doesn't go off the rails unless it's good fishing. And that one year was just like, for a couple of years there, it was just like horrible. But 2010, and then every tournament I've been in since, I never won it. And I remember one dude telling me, he goes, Sean, I've been doing these tournaments for 20 years. I know this is one of your first tournaments and you won it. Be grateful, because you might not win it again. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, I'm going to freaking win it next. I'm going to win it every year. And I've spent 5 times that money that I won since trying to win it. And sure enough, we get 8, 10, you do releases, and, you got to do the release thing. And if it's a certain size, you can boat it. But, I'd get 8 or 10 one season, and there's another guy got 14, and it's so crazy. It's so competitive, but I love it, man. I love seeing those fish and seeing them when they're sleeping, and, tailors. And we got these big old gyro, arm service. They're called Fraser Volp, image stabilized binoculars, man. And we're just got 3 sets of these, and everyone's just eyes looking for these tailors, because we're just dragging lures, everywhere until we can see something. Then we go try to bait it. But I love me some marlin fishing, that's for sure. All right.
Yes, sir. Yeah, there's nothing like the feeling of hearing that rod go off.
Yeah, I know. I love it. The spinning of the reels, like, wing, I'm usually in there watching the damn Kardashians on my 55-inch high-def TV out in the middle of the ocean or something. And then I hear, there they go. Don't touch it. I'm going to the pole. It's kind of crazy. But I hate just dragging lures though, man, because I've been in so many tournaments, 8 hours, you drag them, you don't get one and you don't hear it. And it's just so freaking boring, man. But that's why they call it fishing and not catching. But yeah, it's just, and we got like all the tournaments starting off. We got in June, July, August, and September. Tis the season. Well, dude, tell me, this is going good, but let's wrap it up. But tell me a little bit about any CE out there that some of our younger people that you take, anything you like in particular. Do you stuff online? Do you fly out certain areas? Tell me a little bit about your CE journey, and if you could give us any tips out there for some of our younger people.
Man, the first thing I'll tell you is there's no such thing as a bad CE course. And I've been to some good ones, and I've heard some of your classic speakers, your Spears and your Mish and all these guys that you see, and Gordon Christensen and all that. And man, we've been to see across the board. So I would tell listeners, one, there's no such thing as a bad C. And what I mean by that is that you get something out of every CE that you go to. I will say that one of the things that we took early in our careers is Rondo seminars, TMJ, and orthodontic courses, and it really changed the way we viewed practicing dentistry, and it really helped open up our minds to the fact that there's maybe some more out there than what you learn in dental school. So the biggest thing I would tell any young dentist is, number one, take as much CE as you can. If you get a supply rep that wants you to go to an implant class that they're going to host at the Holiday Inn and buy you a couple drinks, go take it, man, because yeah, they're going to try to sell you something, but hey, you got to pay the bills. You got to pay for those drinks somehow. Yep. And, you're going to pick something up out of just about any CE course that you take. So the key is not really what, but just, man, keep taking it and keep learning and stay on the forefront and on the cutting edge of dentistry and always getting better.
Absolutely. No, that's awesome for sure. Any technological advancements out there that you're thinking about or looking into? Any maybe impression scanners taking, or what? Are you thinking? Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, man, I'm waiting for my Keating Dental Arts Visa card that's going to pay for my impression scanner, and I'm going to have one on order as soon as that shows up.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Sean, I'll be honest with you, and this has nothing to do with the fact that I'm talking to a lab guy, but I think impression scanners are certainly a piece of technology that, if they haven't already, they're going to improve the way we practice, and they're going to be a piece of equipment that can improve your bottom line, and as far as supply costs, just because the cost of impression material and stuff is so high. Yep. I'm not sold on milling in office. One, I'm not a lab guy. I don't want to do my own lab work. I want to send it to somebody like you.
Yep.
But two, if you really look into the numbers, and I've been trying to convince myself for the past 5 or 10 years that I needed some kind of in-office milling technology. And the bottom line is that if you actually look at the numbers from a business standpoint, they just don't work. And I know that guys will argue with me, and I know that there's certain big companies that'll show me a spreadsheet on how it does, but I've put the numbers to paper in my office, and it really doesn't make sense. And you would know more about the volume we do than I do, but we do a fair amount of crowns between two dentists.
Yes,
and
you do.
I just don't think that technology, as far as making those crowns in your office has come to the point where it makes a lot of sense. Someday it will, but I don't think that it's there yet. But I do think, definitely scanners. I think that's going to change the game. I really think that at some point, when 3D printing comes down. When we get to the point where we can take a scan of a patient's mouth and 3D print a model, a working model to make a partial or a diagnostic model so that we don't have to have all the stone and stuff in our offices, I think that's going to change and improve dentistry quite a bit. The problem right now is that technology is just at a stage where nobody has worked out the kinks, and I don't want to be a beta tester.
Yeah,
I want when it gets figured out, hey, tell me which printer to buy and tell me which program to get. I'll scan the tooth and bam, it prints me out a model right away.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet. And the cost of printing stuff, it's just still a lot cheaper to pour a stone model.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it's just something, like you said, till the prices come down. I got a couple printers here that cost me close to $100,000, not even 5-7 years ago. And now they're obsolete and I can't even sell it for the weight, of it. It's like, I got an offer. We got a company trying to, sell them or whatever. And $3,500 I got offered. It's like, what the heck? I'll keep it and just look at it. It looks like a good piece of furniture in that room before I do it. It's like $3,500, but that's just like it is. I mean, a lot of these mills and stuff, the older ones, it's like the old computers, they kind of get obsolete after a few years. So we just got a new carbon. It's called carbon printer, and it's basically leased now. So it's like $2+ grand a month and all the materials. It's quite expensive, but then again, my models that I'm paying for cost me $20-$30 to get them made. And so I just want everything in house. So we're kind of going that route with the carbon printers and, and like, it's kind of neat in 2 years and it's a whole Silicon Valley company that's doing this. It's all tech but they really got it down on these, just the models for all my implants and everything. It's just really neat, really, really accurate, but it's just something, in 2 years when they got a newer, bigger, better one, they take this and I get into a new one. I kind of do that with my cars, 24 months, I got a new freaking car and it's just, you know what, I'm going to do a Rolls this time. Next time I'll do a Ferrari, whatever. You just got to do, instead of owning it and losing your butt on it, it's like, it just works out. And so my CFO is not real excited about the whole lease thing with the printers, but I just find I'm not going to be stuck with outdated stuff again. I bought too many things. My first CAD CAM machines were just like so expensive, and after a while they're no good. And it's just like you said, sit back, wait on it. When it all said and done, in a few more years, you're going to get 3D printers that are probably $5 to $10 grand, and you're going to just, instead of $100,000. And you're going to get mills or, scanners that are coming down in price from 30-40 grand down to 10 to 20 grand, because it's just going to be able to be built faster and cheaper, hopefully. And, but just the accuracy of some of these products are just, they're game changers when it comes to the lab and the dental office working together. I mean, we have teeth that like to move. I got impression material like to shrink. I got oven temps. I got a lot of variables that we put into making these restorations, and the success rate is pretty darn good. But as we go more digital in the future, it's even better. And it's just it's exciting from a lab standpoint, and I think it's beneficial for the dental offices too, because things are getting more accurate, more predictable. We got restorations that don't break anymore, and it's just a neat thing. But hey, Dr. Parrish, man, I love you, dude. Can't thank you enough. I know you're busy. I know we're going a little bit long. You got to get out there and cut me some more crown. How we doing as a lab? We doing okay?
Yeah, man, we're more than happy. We've had a relationship with you guys since 2000. It's been almost 14 years, maybe 13, 14 years.
14,
so
yeah.
Obviously we wouldn't have stuck with you guys so long if we weren't getting a good product. So but you're right. I guess I do have to go back to work and help pay for all this. So I appreciate you having me. And like I said, I'll be waiting for that Keating Dental Arts scanner to show up at my office next Monday.
I hope someday to be able to do it, at least to pay for I was talking to the 3Shape guys. We had a big lab day in our CDA, California Dental Association meeting, and I was talking to some of the head guys over at 3Shape, and the thing I could, do maybe down the line as we get going with this is there's like a service contract with all these things, and it can be anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 to $3,000. And I think with the 3Shape's like $2,500, and it just for everything, your warranties and just all your upgrades and updates. And I think what I want to do is hopefully for our dental partners to be able to pay for that for them, just to help out on that. And so hopefully we can work out a program down the line that we can help take care of the warranty and the service and the whole contracts that they got. And it's like $2,500, I think. But hey, any little bit helps. And it's just something, God, for some guys that, I'd love nothing more than almost to get these and pay for them for the dentist, because it's just that much better, I think, than conventional impressions. Our conventional impressions work great, but it's just something, there's some variables. It's probably 96, 97% accurate, where we can get almost 99.8% accuracy. It's just crazy on, it doesn't, it just is so accurate, and I just love it. But I'm going to wait a little bit too as we see things go down and the pricing go down, because it's important at the end of the day that we're frugal when it comes to these purchases, and how it improves a practice. And if it's going to cost you more is one thing, but if it's going to help improve, less chair time, more accuracy, and ease of use in the practice to make your job a little bit easier, I think it's important. So stay around with this. We'll figure out what we're going to do going forward, but I'll do something for you for sure, man, because it's been many years. You've done a ton of crowds with us, man, and we just love you guys, and you got a great staff. And I just want to thank you and your staff very much for everything. And if there's anything I can ever do, please let me know.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you having me, and hopefully the weather's out there in California is doing all right, and you guys don't have an earthquake and fall off the coast on me. All right.
That's it, baby. Everyone always says that. It's like, yeah, it probably will, man. We get earthquakes here. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, man, I thank you for that. And you guys stay strong out there in Texas, man. And I can't thank you enough, Dr. Parrish, and we'll talk to you real soon.
All right. Thanks, Sean. Have a good day.
All right, sir. You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Dental Up Podcast Show this week. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or search the Dental Up Podcast on iTunes for our weekly feed. Don't forget to visit KeatingDentalArts.com/promo for exclusive offers. Keating Dental Arts is a full-service dental laboratory, and we're nationwide. We'd love for you to send us a case so we can show you the Keating difference. If you dig what you heard, please leave a review on iTunes, and we'll be back next week.